Today I'm going to show you how to do a blind scan with your Amico Mini free satellite TV receiver. And this video is really for anybody who's new to the hobby of free satellite TV. The very first thing you want to do is make sure that your dish is aimed correctly at the satellite you wish to receive. And I'm hoping to release a full video on how to correctly aim your dish once the weather warms up around here. It's really cold and snowy. And running a blind scan for your satellite dish is a lot like running a channel scan for your over-the-air TV antenna. With digital channels, you have to scan them into your receiver before they can be watched. So running a blind scan is really like loading all the channels that are available on a given satellite into your receiver so you can watch them. And these are my Amico receivers. So this procedure is going to work on these receivers here. This one is the Mini HD 265, and that's what the remote looks like. And this is the Amico Mini 4K Ultra HD, which is a step up from the HD 265 because this does 4K broadcasts as well. Although the only one out there on satellite TV is NASA. But what you want to do first is, of course, make sure that you have your LNB from your satellite dish connected to your receiver on the back here of the coaxial cable connector. And now we can go to the menu and take a look at how to run a blind scan. All right, here we are at the receiver now. And the first thing you want to do is press the menu button on the receiver and select installation, and then go to satellite installation. Now, this is the main satellite installation menu here. And what you want to do is, with the red bar on the very top line here for satellite, press the OK button, and you're going to select the satellite you're going to scan in your menu here. And we're going to use satellite 87 West on the KU band here. That was the satellite dish you saw outside earlier, and that's the satellite we're going to scan today. Now, one of the most important things you can do when you're setting up your receiver for a blind scan here is to make sure that your LNB setting is correct. Your LNB frequency should match the LNB that you're using on your dish. If you're not sure what frequency to set your LNB at, look on the label of the LNB itself. There will be a line that says LO, or local oscillator, and that tells you the frequency. So the frequency I'm using today is 10,750 megahertz or 10.75 gigahertz. That is your standard KU band LNB frequency. And that frequency is really important because the local oscillator is the mixing frequency that your LNB and receiver use to downconvert the high frequency satellite signals to a more suitable frequency for traveling through coax cable. And if that's not set correctly in your receiver, then your receiver is going to miscalculate where those channels are put. So it's really important to get this right. So check the label on your LNB, make sure that this is set correctly. 10750 is our LNB's mixing frequency, local oscillating frequency, so we'll leave that one as it is. Now, right now on the transponder index here, you can see we've got no signal. Now I have a few, there we go. I have a few transponders already added in here. Now, on the Amico Mini receivers, there are some transponders added. So if your dish is aimed correctly, then chances are you're going to have a transponder in here already anyways. Or if you used, say, a satellite meter, a portable satellite meter, then what you want to do is try to pick a transponder that you're getting a signal on here. But if you don't have any transponders added, you can always add one in. Now, another option for you to do is just to run a blind scan and see what channels come in. And that's what we're going to do today. Now, if you want to learn about adding a transponder though, I have another video that I made on that, and I'll put a link to that in the description of this one. So for today, make sure that your LNB frequency is set correctly. If you have a transponder with a signal, great. If not, when you run a blind scan, if your dish is aimed correctly, you're going to bring in some transponders and channels and you'll have a signal anyways. Now, right here on this line here, Dissect 1.0, normally it's going to look like this, disable. And that's if you're just running a single dish. Now, I happen to be running multiple dishes, which is why I have this set to Dissect 1.0 port 1 out of 4, because I'm using a switch to combine several satellite signals into one cable on my receiver here. So that's something I have to do on my setup. If you're running a single satellite dish, if this is your first time, then what you want to do is just make sure this says disable. Okay. All right, so we'll put that back so I can get my signal. Now, everything else should look like this. You can leave the dish positioner off. That's only if you're using a motorized dish setup. And if you're new to this hobby, you're probably not doing that. The 22K switch, that should also be off in this case. And leave everything else alone as it is. Polarity, make sure it's set to auto. This one's really important though. LNB power should say on. If it's turned off, that means that you're not getting any voltage backfed to your LNB, and that means you won't get any channels. Watch what happens when I turn this off. Signal goes away. All right, let's turn it back on. Signal comes back. Okay, so let's just review here. So up at the top, make sure your satellite is set correctly. And of course, like I said, this is all predicated on your dish being aimed correctly. And then make sure the LNB frequency is set to the correct setting. And after that, you should be good to go. LNB power on. Now on your receiver, on the side of the menu here, you can see there's like a legend of the remote buttons, all the colored buttons on your remote. You're going to want to hit the white button on your remote to start a blind scan. So go ahead and do that. And now the blind scan begins and we'll see what channels come in. So what you see on the screen there is the receiver is reading all of the transponders that it's picking up. And if there's any channels on these transponders, they're going to appear in the TV channel or radio channel list. So there's a few channels now. And you're just going to let your blind scan run until the progress bar on the bottom says 100%. And then you'll be able to check which channels that you get afterwards. And this is another common thing too in free satellite TV. A lot of the channels scan in as nondescript names like channel 1, channel 2. So when you actually go to check the channels in your channel guide, you'll see which channels are which there. All right, so those are the basics on running a blind scan on your Amico Mini free satellite TV receiver to bring in those free satellite TV channels. And if you're interested in more tips and tricks that you can use to set up your receiver, then check the description. I've put some links there for some other videos that I hope you'll find helpful.